Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be dropping another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. As always, if you are new around here and finding yourself on my channel for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we try every single day around 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest that's happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be starting things off with looking at what happened yesterday with the CPI print. Now, CPI is just one barometer for inflation. When we look at things like core PCEs, it paints a slightly different story. And I'm not largely worried about inflation. However, the markets don't like uncertainty. We're going to be starting the video off there. We're going to be showing you a dot plot in regards to how things have adjusted due to the recent inflationary data and how this is propping up the dollar and thus leaning on risk. Despite that, there is no changes whatsoever other than what I believe is a short-term hump to our broader time view on where the markets are going. And we're going to be showing you that in this video. We are going to be coming to the total 2. Now, I did do a jam-packed update for my Patreons, a weekly meeting yesterday. If you want to get into the Patreon, do check the link in the description. I think there's only about 10 spaces left. So get them whilst they last. But we're going to be looking at the total 2, looking at that small pattern that we're identifying that is going to trigger the bigger one that's going to see the total 2, total market cap excluding Bitcoin, go from around about $1.1 trillion all the way to 3.7. The bull market is here, ladies and gentlemen, and why the long faces, I do not know. I'm seeing kind of a little bit of giving up in the comment section, and I've always said, if you can't handle the volatility and the heat that comes with crypto, don't be here. You're going to have a way happier life elsewhere. You might be a little bit poorer and not really benefit from the opportunity that crypto is presenting, but your mental sort of state may be in a little bit more tact, and really one thing that I teach is you need to understand the nature of the beast that you're dealing with crypto. It's a very volatile space. Enough of that anyway. We'll cover all that as we go through the video. And yesterday, we had some huge news, and this is news that I'm really peed off about. So the SEC have officially served a Wells notice to Uniswap. Now, Uniswap really was the first DeFi protocol. I wouldn't say first. It was really the first DeFi protocol on Ethereum. It started that whole DeFi summer. It was my first interaction really with an Ethereum dApp. And yesterday, the SEC actually filed a notice, and we're going to be looking at this. And actually, the founder of Uniswap, Hayden, came out and said he's going to fight this to the bitter end. And this is not just an attack on Uniswap from the SEC. This is an attack on the entire cryptocurrency industry and the DeFi space. And we're going to be diving into that, what's took place throughout this video. So without further ado, guys, let's dive into it all. And let's start things off with what took place yesterday. Now, yesterday was the day of the CPI, which is a good barometer for US inflation. Now, it came out at 3.5. The expectation was 3.4. The prior one that we had was 3.2. So we're in this kind of blip for inflation. It's not trending down like it has done. It is 3.5, not 9, which is where it's come down from. And I'm not worried about this in the slightest. When you look at PCEs, when you look at a number of other barometers for inflation, there's not really that much of a need to worry, in my opinion. It's not a kind of overall negative story, certainly given the fact that we've got insane growth and a really strong economy and labor market in the United States. So that is, of course, impacting inflation. Certainly oil can be, and historically has been, a good barometer for how well an economy is doing. However, under the context of high oil, you've had high rates, which has kind of leaned on the economy or certainly caused or moved the Fed's hand to be quite tight. But this kind of leaned on markets. And really what's going on here, and this is a great visual representation, is this is federal fund rate and the kind of implied or the forecast for it, if you will. And you can see we are on the kind of light yellow color, or the yellow color today, and you can see just how this is Fed fund rate where it's gone. The expectations are adjusting, and thus the markets are adjusting with it. And that's all that's really going on. On the back end of that, you've of course got a strong dollar, stronger than I would have liked to have seen dollar, which in turn is leaning on risk. I actually did something very interesting, so we've got this broader view on the dollar, where we ultimately think, it's coming down to the lower band of this channel that has been formed really since 2008 when the Fed stepped into the markets. And we think it's going to get there given where Fed funds rate is going. And you can see this is the Fed funds. You can see when it comes down, the dollar goes down. And actually, if we throw Bitcoin on here, which won't be in a nice Bitcoin on, it's just to really confuse everyone, you can see a real nice correlation here that kind of fits our bull market. So you can see Bitcoin bottoms typically when the dollar rolls. Bitcoin bottom, dollar right. And we still think this has got a down leg to come, and we think that's going to be on the proliferation of the system, which ties in with global liquidity. And we've done a whole study and case on that. And again, do become a patron and you'll unlock all of that. But this is essentially what's happening in the short term. It's why the markets are kind of volatile. You're seeing housing down, you're seeing bonds down, you're seeing yields do well. I think this is just the short-term blip before we resume the broader trend. I think markets have been looking for a little bit of a reason to call back. And I think with this data, they've kind of ceased that. So nothing really to worry about in my opinion. Just a short-term blip. We're going to look at the cryptocurrency market in just a second. Before we do that, let's talk about some absolutely shocking news that came out yesterday. Shocking, but expected, I think. So Uniswap, again, it was the first DApp I ever interacted with when it came out in regards to Ethereum. And today, Uniswap Labs received a Wells notice from the SEC, and we're ready to fight. And so am I, ladies and gentlemen. This is the latest political effort to target even the best crypto actors, the best actors in crypto like Uniswap and Coinbase. All Uniswap products and Uniswap protocol are unaffected. What right does the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, have going after Uniswap when they've not even classified anything officially as a security? And by the way, Uniswap is a protocol. It's not a company. It's a protocol. It's essentially software. And decentralized software at that. I mean, this is just madness. We are going to see the SEC get their arse handed to them. I've never seen the SEC take such a beating like they have in crypto. But let's go over to Hayden.eth's Twitter to learn a little bit more about this. So Hayden is, of course, the inventor of Uniswap. Today, Uniswap Labs received a Wells notice from the SEC. I'm not surprised, just annoyed, disappointed, and ready to fight. I am confident that the products we offer are legal and that our work is on the right side of history. But it's been clear for a while that rather than working to create clear, informed rules, the SEC has decided to focus on attacking long-time good actors like Uniswap and Coinbase, all while letting bad actors like FTX slip by. Amen. Gary Gensler, by the way, is worth just under $50 million. How did he get that money? Okay, and they say, oh, he was a successful investment banker. Okay. I mean, there's no correlation there. There's no clear evidence that he got that kind of a net worth through being a successful investment banker at Goldman Sachs. I don't want to go down how I think he has got to the level of money that he's got to, but I don't think it's through protecting US citizens, which is what he's claiming to do, whilst allowing the likes of FTX to take everybody's money, you know? So when I first set out to build Uniswap, the goal wasn't to reimagine finance. It was to experiment in a radically decentralized, fully automated on-chain market. I didn't know if it would work or if anyone would use it. Fast forward to today, Uniswap protocol has processed over $2 trillion in volume. Without a hitch, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, without rugging people. Many thousands of teams and developers have forked our code or built on top of it. We built entirely new financial infrastructure that is transparent, fair, secure, and accessible, powering an entire industry. I mean, anyway, I'll read on. The team at Uniswap did all of this in the US from our office in New York. People often ask me why we stayed in the US, and my answer is simple. I believe that blockchain is incredibly powerful technology. Like the internet, it's here to stay. So someone needs to figure it out, and it might as well be us. And that when you build technology that improves people's lives, you don't need to hide. The SEC's mission is protecting investors, maintaining fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitating capital formation. This is a noble mission. I would urge Uniswap does a far better job of this today than the SEC. I would argue that as well. Yes, I am frustrated that the SEC seems to be more concerned with protecting opaque systems than protecting consumers. And that will have to fight a US government agency to protect our company and our industry. This fight will take years, may go all the way to the Supreme Court, and the future of financial technology and our industry hangs in the balance. If we stand together, we can win. I think freedom is worth fighting for. I think DeFi is worth fighting for. And of course, we won't stop shipping. Stay tuned. Let's get on the back end of this, because this is ridiculous. You know, what grounds has the SEC? By the way, they haven't published this on their website. They haven't published it on Twitter. Usually when they go after cryptos, they publish it on Twitter or they publish some sort of a statement. They haven't done that as of yet. They're being unbelievably sly, and we've already seen a judge slap the SEC in the face and say they are abusing their power as a regulator. This is not about protecting consumers. If it was, they'd have stopped the likes of FTX and others instead of enabling FTX to give them the power that they now have, or the mandate that they now have. FTX was a Trojan horse. Look at who Sam Bankman-Fried was rubbing shoulders with. It's insane how they did Binance. CZ, what did he do wrong? People say, oh, well, in his early days. As a Binance customer, what did he do wrong to people? And yet, they completely trolled him by charging him $4 billion when he was throwing up the four all the time. It's crazy. This is just like... I've always said this. For me, learning about finance is learning about the world. And when you learn and understand it, you understand just how insanely corrupt it all is. And the insane thing probably to lead on from that is that most people don't even have a clue that they are being had over every single time they make a transaction, every single time they do anything. And it doesn't just apply to the poor end of society, it applies to everybody other than what will become, in my opinion, the ruling class once they sort of level everybody off to serfdom. So this is insane. You know, I think we should really all get behind Uniswap in any which way we can and support them. You know, even if that's on social media, whatever it may be, because this is just stupid. So if the SEC had authority over our self-custodial, non-intermediate products, it can tell us how to register them. It can't, and so it doesn't. It has provided no clarity and no guidance, as several SEC commissioners have stated in multiple dissents. It's just surprising to me that the SEC is actually doing what they're doing. And you know what the funniest part? So the SEC the other day actually got charged with the gross misconduct and they got fined. Do you know who pays that fine? You guys in the US. Do you know who pays for the SEC to do what they're doing? You guys with your tax money. In fact, your tax money doesn't even probably go on it. They say it does. They say your tax money goes on services and stuff like that. It doesn't. Printing money facilitates stuff. You're just paying taxes so that you don't, you know, you're leveled off and stayed where you are. Anyway, let's move on from that. Slightly annoying news, but, you know, again, there's a silver lining in everything in life. With this, for example, the silver lining is we are going to get regulatory clarity. And this is, again, a battle we have to overcome. Let's talk about crypto a little bit, or let's talk about the charts and technically where we think crypto's at. This, for me, certainly as somebody that holds more altcoins than he does Bitcoin, is the most important chart. This is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. And we are looking at a technical pattern potentially forming that could see this run to $3.7 trillion, which is over a 3x from where you currently are today. And we're just waiting for that right shoulder to form. And actually, I think that we are looking at a smaller pattern within the right shoulder that is essentially going to give us a rough target of around about $1.4 trillion, which is going to see this right shoulder form and thus trigger this inverse head and shoulders and set in motion a broader target to the upside, just like we've seen with so many other, whether it be stocks, charts in general. You know, we're a traditional technical analyzer and we think we've got the cheat codes when identifying a market from a technical perspective, and I believe we can teach that. And we are working on the Allincrypto Academy. You can kind of front run that a little bit by becoming a patron and getting in on the meetings. And we do have a basic course on sort of stage analysis at the moment. But I don't think there's any reason to panic. Again, tying in the kind of macro situation, it's just a short-term hump that we will get over. And technically what we're looking at, macro what we're looking at, globally in regards to liquidity, what we're looking at, all the stars kind of align. We're just waiting for things to actually play out. And I do believe they will. I do believe the dollar's going to find its way to the downside of that band that we have for it, since we officially entered communism back in 2008 when the government basically stepped in to banking and there was no separation there anymore. And also, I think a lot of the targets we've got for Bitcoin, that we've got for a lot of our altcoins, that we've got for the total two are going to get hit. Remember, we're bullish on the bond market. We're actually bullish on housing as well. Rates where they're going, if they're going there, are going to see that come into fruition. We've just, like I say, we're dealing with a little bit of a repricing in regards to how overly zealous I think people were. There's no need really for the Fed to cut where they are. Data is really good. And on top of that, inflation is still not where they want it. If you use CPIs, PCEs are slightly different, and there's things like PMIs for manufacturing and stuff that don't look too bad. Guys and girls, that's all from me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you're not already a subscriber, consider becoming one. I do apologize for the kind of ranty-esque nature of the Uniswap segment, but it's, this is an industry that I love. This is an industry that I've devoted a lot of my life, the past 2017, what are we on? Nearly 8 years of my life to. And certainly got involved with, or first heard about crypto, I should say, in 2012. And we know that what the story is with the US and their agencies. And I think maybe there's a good thing in regards to all this also, that people are getting to witness firsthand the kind of corruption, unfairness, and insanity that is taking place over there in regards to crypto, and the corruption of it all. And I think, we all know, and anybody that believes we live in a fair world is unfortunately delusional. Anybody that thinks that in life, people aren't, we're not, there's this kind of myth that's being told that everybody's equal and everybody's fair and, stuff like that. And that's not how life works. I mean, you've only got to look at nature for that. But that's all I've got for you guys and girls. I'm going to live and leave you on that note. Have a fantastic Thursday, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next.